Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jim and today I'm going to carry on talking about return on investment for your real estate assets, in particular for new launches in the Singapore context. If you have not watched the previous video where I go through the 4 methods of calculating return, please click the link above to catch up. Moving on, now I want to show you what is the best method to calculate the return on investment. This is a method used by finance and investment professionals worldwide. It's complicated, but I'm going to show you step by step in a way that will make it easy to understand. Make sure you stay with me all the way until the end where I have a free gift just for you. The concept that I'll be explaining will give you something known as IRR, short for your internal rate of return. I will explain more about the purpose of this internal rate of return later. In order to find this rate of return, you will need to know your cash flows for the entire holding period of the property. So let's look at year 0. We add your 250k down payment to your legal fees, your buyer's stamp duty, your miscellaneous fees of 27k, and you get a figure of 277k. In year 1, year 2, and year 3, you are paying your mortgage payments. In Singapore, it's a progressive payment scheme, meaning the mortgage repayments increases as the building completes. So remember the 18k figure, I want to split it among these 3 years. In the first year, we're looking at $3,000. Second year, $6,000. And in the third year, $9,000. Also, at the end of year 3, you sold the property for 1.1 million net with an outstanding loan of 700k to get back 400k cash. From these cash flow figures, to calculate IRR, we need to change them into net figures. So, as this 277k in year 0 is an outflow, it's a negative figure. Similarly, for this $3,000, it's also a negative figure. $6,000, negative figure. 9k, also negative. So your year 3, you are net positive of 391,000. Now that you have these net cash flows over the 3 years, I want to go back a bit and focus on what is the meaning of IRR again. Let's head over to Investopedia. You don't need to learn how to calculate IRR on your own. Just take a look at the formula to calculate IRR. It's such a complicated formula. Most of the time, we use computer programs to help us with it, or in our case, Excel. I've skipped this step for you and I want to give you the figure of IRR in this particular example. That number is 11.17%. What does this mean? Why IRR is usually the best method to calculate the return on investment? Because it takes into account the time value of money. A simpler, easier to understand meaning of IRR is the annual growth rate. Once an investment can be put into its IRR to get a rate of return, you can then compare it easily with other forms of investments. Most of the time in the Singapore context, have you heard the saying that leaving your money in CPF is not as good as putting it in real estate? Here's the reason. Because when you get 11.17%, you compare it with 2.5% of CPF or 1% for fixed deposit. When you convert your return from a real estate investment to IRR, internal rate of return, you are then able to compare it more effectively with other instruments. Now that you've got the gist of IRR, I want to go back and address some of the comments that I've had from my previous video. They mentioned that some of the numbers I used were not so accurate. I won't elaborate too much here. You can read it from the comments in the previous video. I deliberately made the numbers easier to understand so that it would turn the focus towards the calculations, the methods, instead of the actual figures. However, now that you have a much clearer understanding, I want to explain to you how I derived the IRR using an actual case study. Let's head over to the computer screen. Alright, so now you see me at the bottom corner of your screen. First, I want to go to my go-to website for analytics and project information, H Property. The project I've chosen for this example is the Clement canopy. Why? Because I'm very interested in Clement canopy and I've did a couple of videos that were quite popular about the project before. Not only that, I also wrote specifically about the TOP effect, and there so happens to be a recent transaction here, as you can see, in 15 April 2020. Not that long ago, and it's a good one that I'm going to be using to calculate the internal rate of return with. Okay, so let's plug the numbers into an Excel file. Square feet, we have 1346 square feet. Per square feet that it was bought at is 1205. Those were the initial prices. Let's go back and verify. Size 1346, purchase price 1205 per square feet. Okay, all these numbers are auto-populated, and your total initial payment is the sum of your down payment 20%, your buyer's stamp duty about 49,000, and your legal fees 2,005. I will not be counting the minor fees such as the valuation in this process. So what are the cash flows related to this property purchase? For cash flows, I like to use 99.co's tool. I'll just Google it, 99.co progressive payment. Okay, this I found is very useful for most people to use and easy to understand. Okay, for this case, I'll assume that you are Singaporean, you don't own any properties. Your property value is 1621930. You bought it before you are 35 years old, hence you can have a 30-year loan tenure. Your loan is the maximum of 75%, and interest rate around that time, I would say, is about 1.8%. Okay, here is your progressive payment background of the loan amount, 75% of about 1.2 million. If you notice and you add up this entire time period here, it's about 3 years. However, Clement canopy was built very fast in about 2 years. So for purposes of this calculation, we will cut short the amount of time it takes. Instead of after 6 months here, the payment will come in after only 1 month. Let's put in the figures. So the top row here, these are the months following the first major payment on 5th March 2017 when the property was first bought. Here, 5th March 2017, was the entire initial investment of about 457,000. Then we want to fill in the mortgage payments accordingly to when the cash flow exited our pockets. Let's take the figures. Starts with 291, which is a negative figure as is the outflow for 6 months. Then 882 for the next 6 months. Followed by 1179 for 3 months. Carry on doing this for all the progressive payments as they increase gradually until the project is completed. At CSC, Certificate of Completion, your mortgage payment reaches the high of 4,546. Then on 15 April, the property is sold for a price of 1,472 per square feet, which is equivalent to 1.98 million as confirmed in the figure above here. Now I will put in the costs, as it is only the 3rd year of a 4-year seller's stamp duty liability period. There is a seller's stamp duty here of 4% of the purchase price. Agent's fee, I choose a standard amount of 2% plus GST, which is 2.14%. Selling legal fees of 2,500, as well as an outstanding loan remaining of about 1,180,000. This is a figure that requires a mortgage advisor's advice, and you can probably get it when you're applying for a loan or planning for your purchase from your banker. This, hence, is the net amount that you get from selling your property on 15th of April 2020. A figure of almost 676,000. Now that we have all the cash flows at these various periods, we can calculate the IRR, The formula I use here is X IRR. You have two sets of data here. One is the values, where you select all the cash flows for the entire period. The second are the dates, which is your first row. Ta-da! You get a figure of 8.81%, which is your IRR or your annual growth rate. What are your thoughts on the case study? Do you find it complicated? Don't worry, if you don't want to use the IRR, any of the previous 4 methods that I shared with you would work as well. Just make sure you choose one that is most in line with your needs and your requirements. However, if you're someone who wants to go into the deep details, this IRR cash flow method that I've shared is definitely the best. Remember the free gift that I mentioned at the start of my video? I'll be giving with you the Excel file that I use in the example. All you need to do is to click the link in the description below, head over to my website where I have written an article about the same topic. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll find a link to download your free Excel file. Do you have any further questions about this topic of calculating IRR? Please let me know in the comment section below. Once again, my name is Jim Tay. Leave me a like, share this video with somebody whom you think it will help, and don't forget, very importantly, to click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my further videos. I'll see you next time.